So in this Bunkai strategy newsletter, we're a little bit different because you're getting video for the first time. We're going to try and show you some of the things that are hard to communicate when all you've got is all that text. So enjoy the clip. Sometimes the problem with looking at kata Bunkai is that we can read all about it, but we end up feeling like we're just swimming underwater and you can't quite hear and you can't quite make sense of what's written, and it all just feels like too much. So we like to take things one step at a time, and one of the points that we can't really get across well in text, but hopefully we can show you a little better here on screen, is just this factor about distance. So I've got Sensei Richard Carrick with me, and what you'll find is that most people will think about kata applications as happening at a particular distance, and we'll end up at something like kumite distance, where if he comes in with a good mai geri, then I've got room to come off over to here and we make a nice retaliation, and people will see that as the kind of thing that a kata's really about. But if we were really out here, then actually when he throws his kick, what I really want to do is go away, even if that takes me off the edge of the screen. If there's a big kick coming at me, the thing to do is to get out of the way. Now, looking at this linear movement backwards, I really don't want to go backwards too far. So if someone is kicking, it's got to be off over here, hasn't it? So that I can take advantage of all this. But the trouble with that is that it leaves us out of kumite distance. It's no longer sporting. It's no longer room to cause these big techniques to show off. Instead, what we have to look at is what the kata would be useful for self-defense. Where if he starts out over there, when he starts coming towards me with anything, I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to go. There's no reason to do any kind of karate move at that distance, unless, of course, we were going to seek to do it preemptively and shut the man down before the thing even began. I'd urge you to consider verbal methods of stopping a confrontation at that kind of range, rather than having to resort to technique. However, where our technique becomes absolutely vital is when he's at such a distance that he can hit me before I can do anything else. When he's that close that he can hit me before I can do anything else, then I need to have some skill. I need to take hold of the situation for myself. Now, at this range, when I hit the man or do whatever technique we're going to do to him, it's no longer going to be a nice full-length technique. At this range, if I use a full-length technique, it's got very little penetration. There's very little that can go into the subject, the person who's attacking. Instead, we need to commit the body weight to the technique. When the body weight commits to the technique, we end up making the contact at this range and then continuing through to full extension so that we get a penetration. And it's that penetration which gives us the difference between a nice sporting kind of contact and the actual contact where we're going to come in and hit and go through. We're doing those fairly slowly so that they turn into pushes rather than damages. Right? Understand the difference to that. The shorter and sharper, the more explosive the movement, the more it turns into a damaging shot. So, where does this leave us? It means that we want to be making contact with our kata movements about halfway through. If you look at anything that we do, if I'm making something like Gidan Barai just here, I'm making contact already. We're not going to get to here and be making the contact. That's too late in the game. Too late in the game to be touching him here. We need to be touching here, causing the motion to already be involved in our Gidan Barai. If we were looking at something else, if we were looking at, say, the inside block, the Shotokan call it Uchiyuki, then I'd be going under the arm, I'm already making contact. I don't want to be back here and hitting it and trying to cause the contact at the end of the move. It's got to be already touching, so that it's the process that causes the application to become real, to make it happen. It doesn't want to be the end of the movement. Whatever it is we're doing, it needs to be that way. It needs to be that we go through the process. And one of the other practical applications that you often hear us talk about, or you see in the books, when we talk about small circles and big circles, that people don't really understand.